Good evening. I would like to call the December 9th work session of Jackson County Board of Education to order. We are all here, and I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance. Just as a reminder, we do have an executive session at the end of tonight's work session. Before we get rolling into the agenda, I haven't shared this with any of my fellow members, so hope you'll give me the liberty to say a few things as we get started. I think it's important. I was sharing with Dr. Howard as I prepared for the meeting tonight. I kind of flipped through the things that kind of went on this past year. And, you know, so many times we've been focused on COVID, at least for the last 24 plus months, roughly. And many times as board members, we're here and we just hear a report. You know, we hear from Anna the good news. She always reports to us, and we just take it in. But the past 12 months, we've done a lot. And I wanted just to, and a lot of them were first. And in the business world, a lot of times we like to say, hey, I don't need any more of these bad firsts. But this year we've had a lot of firsts. Our new member, Mr. Johnson. So I made some notes, and I just wanted to share with you guys. We've made a lot of cut a lot of new ground on property and real estate this year. When you think about it, and this is basically us as a board, due to the hard work of our staff, and we rolled our taxes back. Ms. Wheeler made mention to the commitment that previous boards had made to our community about the ability of us rolling it back when we could. And I was happy that you guys, we all joined together and we were able to do that. One other item has been our public involvement period in our meetings is something that the five of us have discussed, how we want our community to feel welcome and participate in our meetings, be able to share. And that's not always a good thing for us. It's good that we hear, but it's not what they say to us isn't always uplifting and enriching, you might say. And then Dr. Howard's retirement is something Ms. Wheeler has shared with us. Is the only one on the board that has been through that before. There isn't anything more important that we will do, and that is something that we have already kicked off, and I'm proud you guys are with us to do it. And then, if you remember, as you know, we retreat in March, and we have discussions about the future and a little bit about the past, and so we've had a few of those since I've been on the board. But this past March was our first retreat where we really were able to analyze some of this growth, see where our kids, due to technology, we're able to see where our kids live that are coming to our schools and where the growth is coming and how best to build and plan for it. So I just wanted you to know that I felt like 2021 was a good year for us as a board and the things that we've done, and I'm proud of those things, and I know you guys are too, and I appreciate the moment of personal privilege to share that with y'all. But I think it's important to reflect on those things. And as we move forward into Christmas and the holidays, and we all have busy times, it'll be January and it'll be cold, and then it'll be March, and we won't have talked about what we did in 2021. So at any rate, I won't take any more time because we have a full agenda.
I was just saying that I appreciate you sharing that because that helps us to recall and recognize the job here. And of course, we've had great leadership and we appreciate that. And let me just make a shout out to Dr. Howard. She's just been named Woman of the Year, so we're mighty proud of that. And appreciate her leadership through all this too. So Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I guess while we're sharing, anybody else? Dr. Howard, we will move on to our agenda, and your first items is the superintendent's comments.
Very good. Well, I'd like to follow up, if you don't mind, and first of all, say thank you to this board. Honestly, Mr. Clarsey and entire board, this has been a very engaged board this year, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time. Mr. Clarsey highlighted the things that you've done, but what the general public may not know is you gave days, took off work. There was a full day in August, a full day in September, and you've really taken time to invest in process with us. So that's the way we are able to really make progress and vision the future for Jackson County. So I appreciate that. And I want to say, too, you opened a new high school and you launched Empower in the midst of all of those things. So it's been a busy year and a lot of exciting things. So thank you for great vision, and I appreciate the leadership and the engagement of our board. So thank you for those of you who are able to be here. This is a very busy time of year, as you know. If you've not attended a play, a musical, a concert, a chorus event, something, then you've got plenty of opportunities this week and next week to do that, because our high schools and our middle schools are bustling with activity. And so I know Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Patton are engaged with children's activities, and I wanted them to do that. So they're not here tonight, and that's why. So just a few updates there. Graduation dates have been set, and so Jackson County's will be on Wednesday, and East Jackson's will be on Thursday. That is before Memorial Day weekend, so that'll be good for families. Reminder that our Parent Advisory Council meeting is Thursday, January 6th. We have a work session that evening, and I do want to mention, and maybe when Mr. Gilbert talks a little bit about operations, one of the big topics that I feel like we will certainly want to follow up with our Parent Advisory is a continued conversation about how we're addressing the growth in the West Jackson community. So we have some updates today, but it may be, if the board has availability, that we have a continued work session on Monday before the board meeting, maybe 5 or 5:30, to have about an hour to discuss some of the numbers that we have coming in. We don't have final numbers for the middle school, and I know in preparation for that January 6th meeting, it would be really good for us to go into the holidays feeling sound about our recommendation. So we can discuss that later, but just for your consideration, because I do think at that Parent Advisory Council, we should be prepared to give them some feedback on our plans, and we've got some good solid plans. The December board meeting will be here on Monday evening. We're going to celebrate East Jackson Middle School. Reminder, and I think our board has already discussed this, and be prepared for chair and vice chair. Probably one of the most exciting things I'd like to ask is that our dear Dr. Briscoe, who is not new, but relatively new to the position of public relations official, she's done an amazing job, and I'm going to navigate the presentation and let you speak to the work that you've done with both our website as well as our digital footprint.
Awesome, thank you. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Hello, hello. Hey, okay. All right, so I am excited to present on our newly launched website. What an exciting time. So I wanted to start off first by thanking all the people. It was such a group and collaborative effort. From the district office specifically, I would like to thank Kat Flippin, Rodney, and Yasmin, because they helped me make it happen. I could not have done it without them. But I really think our most important and special thank you goes to our media specialists, because they have lots of tasks and things going on in their own schools, and they took time and effort to create top-notch professional websites for our schools. And a specific shout out there to Holly Knupp, who really, with Empower being so new, she didn't have a lot to pull from. And so I'm just really impressed with how beautiful and robust that webpage is. So thanks to those people. So the next slide has just the landing page, your home page, and I just put it there because it's so beautiful. And I wanted everyone to see, so as we'll scroll through the next slides, I've got little arrows to highlight some of the things I really want to celebrate about our website. The first would be, right there at the top, you'll see that there's a staff and student portal. So our our people that are most important to us can get to the information they need quickly, but without it being so obvious and whatnot to our external stakeholders. You know, they don't need that information, but it's still super easy for students and staff to get to. So that's really exciting. Next, the big highlight is that there's a translate button, and this is really important as our communities grow and diversify. You can translate this website very easily, quite literally with the push of a button, everything translates. And so that is an exciting feature. Next, you'll see that there's a drop-down menu, and all of the websites look the same. The template's the same from school to school, so you'll be able to go to any school or Empower, and vice versa. If you're on the Empower page, you can easily get to the district or East Jackson High. That's super easy to navigate. It's all right there. Next, you'll see at the very top of our page is I Want To, and if you hover over it, it's this little drop-down menu, and it's some of our top things, right? Like, I'm coming to this page because I want to apply for a job, or I'm coming to this page because I want to pay for school lunch. And so some of those things that you're just naturally curious about when visiting the page, they're right there. Next, you'll see that there's a big purple stripe down at the bottom with cute little icons, and those are some of our big hits right there. So you'll see things like Infinite Campus, the bus schedules, lunch menus, again, they're right there, easy to find. So parents and students can get the information that they need. And the board agenda, a new addition, yes, exciting. So I also wanted to share with y'all what's kind of been happening post the launch. So I did email all of the staff to let them know that the website was up there, and with that, I provided the opportunity to fill out a survey. And there were open-ended questions so we could get feedback on what we liked, what we didn't like, what was easy to navigate, not so much, so we could make changes immediately. Overwhelmingly, it's all really positive, which is exciting, right? People like the modern look, that it was really easy to use, and so that's exciting. Also, of course, you're going to get voluntary feedback from people who, you know, as I go and visit schools, they share what they like and what's been successful. And one of the things that makes me really happy is I feel like the website has been a blessing to the front desk ladies. They get a lot of phone calls about registration and whatnot, and so there's a clear path to direct them to that. And so that's been wonderful to hear. I also have been collecting some data, some fun facts for y'all. The homepage has over 10,000 hits, and that's huge and really, really exciting. Most of the traffic you can see is going to our homepage, but our school menus, partners in education, and staff directory are also popular spots. And so I also, with the website launch, want to talk about how we should be really intentional with our digital footprint, because you don't want to put out this, you know, beautiful professional web page and not have all your other digital things fall into place. And so I'm being really intentional about using our colors and fonts in a unified way. And I don't want it to be a big undertaking, so we're starting small. So we're starting with presentations. As you can see right here, this presentation matches what the website looks like. Social media design and our letterhead. And I wanted to get really geeky for a second and explain why, where this is coming from. So there's all sorts of fun stuff that I won't bore you with about color theory, but we all remember those fun color wheels from art class back in the day. And so there's reasons why colors look good together. And so you'll see from our webpage where we've got those colors right there, those cool colors, and those are common for websites. They're approachable, they're friendly, and so it just looks nice. But also, I wanted to highlight that the importance really right here, people, it's not just me, I've also got survey feedback that they are really loving this purple color, and they're loving it because they feel like it represents that eagle blue and that panther red. So it really is about a unified community, which I think is really wonderful. Also, there's tons of studies about font that I won't bore you with, but know that our font is one of the most commonly used fonts across the globe. And so that's why when you hit that translate button, it so easily translates because it's recognized across the country. Okay. Next. So here's some examples. So I have on here the letterhead that we've used previously. But here's a suggested letterhead I would like to use going forward that, again, matches this color and font scheme that we've used for our website. And then next, you'll also see how the social media design will reflect this too. So it's nothing major, but just something to think about as we move forward with this website launch, that our stuff matches and presents this unified professional front. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions about the website or any of these digital materials?
Thank you so much, Dr. Briscoe. We had a team that started this work about 1.5 years ago and tried to work on through COVID, and then Andrea came in and said, I'm just going to make this happen. And she worked feverishly and had a few bumps in the road with technology extensions that were beyond her control, but I just want you to know how much we appreciate it. We were looking for a professional digital footprint, and I think we have achieved it, so exciting, very exciting. The next item that I have that is quite simple, we've talked about this before. I've spoken with Representative Tommy Benton, and he is ready to take our reapportionment resolution. So you've seen a copy of that. It's linked in there, and you've seen, I'll go ahead just for the purpose of reviewing it. So Mr. Hollett, I think it's on your table. Everyone will need to sign this once we pass the resolution. It will be an action item at the Monday night board meeting, but just a reminder for our general public that every time a new census is administered, the 2020 census data comes in, then we have to reevaluate the representation of our board members. And our Joel Logan, those of you who don't know him, he is our GIS director. He is fantastic and amazing, and he partnered with our board to make this happen, and the reapportionment office at the state level has already approved it, so now we just need for Representative Benton to take it on the board's behalf and have it legislatively approved. So once we have this resolution, Mr. Benton will take it for us. Does the board have any questions about that, or we're good with that? Great. All right. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Dundor, who will talk with us a little bit about the evolving accessibility of our secondary programs through scheduling.
I will. Thank you. I have come on board in October to a busy set of principals who are working with Martha, have been working with Martha since March, to work on scheduling for this coming 22-23 school year. And you may already be getting some questions about that schedule. And to give you a little background, as they have given to me, the schedule that we are currently in, this A-B block schedule, was always intended to be a transition schedule towards a 4x4 block with a hybrid year-long opportunity for certain classes, so that we protect some of our classes like our band program, our fine arts program, many of those programs that are year-long. And what I have for you, I brought this evening, is a draft. No one has seen this yet that our principals have worked on, and they will be here Monday night to present to you their work. We thought it was very important that you hear from them because they have been working diligently. But as you may be getting questions, I felt like this may help you to address some of those more difficult questions about a 4x4 block. This will not necessarily be a traditional 4x4. It will be what we would consider a hybrid, in that many classes will end at the end of the first semester, at the end of the second semester. But there will also be classes that we A-B, as we are currently doing, as I said before, to protect the integrity of some of those programs that we're building. And so I just wanted to put this in your hands to give you a chance to look over that and have that, and just kind of a foreshadowing of Monday's presentation by our principals. Any questions on those this evening?
Thank you, I appreciate this.
Yes, ma'am.
This will be good to have.
Okay. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you very, very much. That will be exciting to hear from our principals. I always love to hear from our school leaders. All right, leadership and HR and student support services. Ms. Todd is going to address our personnel recommendations. She's given me a list that I'll share with you during executive session. Take it from there.
Sure. So the personnel recommendations are in draft form for this evening, and we'll have those finalized for you to approve on Monday. And then we have our enrollment report from Miss Martha, and we have grown by 16 students, it looks like, from October to November. So we continue to grow and add to our student population. Organizational chart drafts will be available for you to review also in your executive session this evening. And then I wanted to provide you just with an update on our substitute staffing. We spent a little bit of time discussing the bonuses that we were going to offer, and we are seeing some progress. So I'm very pleased that we have hired 24 substitutes for the month, and from October 30th to November 30th. And our absence fill rate was tracking in the right direction. We had 520 absences filled in October. In November, we had a total of 637 absences filled. I was hopeful that that was going to bump that fill rate up over 70%, but we had 200 more absences in November than we did in October. The flu is here, and we only had 3 weeks in November, so we're tracking in the right direction. The bonuses have been helpful. We were able to pay out 5 bonuses for 5 substitutes who subbed every day in the month of November, and 23 substitutes who subbed at least 7 days with us in the month of November. So it's helping. I can't say with concrete evidence right now that it is boosting that fill rate, but it's only been 3 weeks. So I just wanted to provide you with an update and let you know that we are tracking in the right direction, but we're hopeful after December, January, we'll have even more progress to show. So thank you for allowing those bonuses. That was very helpful in getting us where we are right now. Yeah. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Todd. With that, we have several items in the Operations and Finance Department. So how about it, Anna? Share the good news that you do get to share good news. And I will say you earned it, because there was a time that it wasn't always good news.
It wasn't always good news. It wasn't always fun to present, but the last few years have been pretty exciting, and I'm going to take it while I can get it. So if you want to start by looking at the SPLOST report, it was another amazing month. I mean, not even holiday shopping month, and we're almost at that $1 million mark. So I have no doubt that next month, when we've got Black Friday and some of that holiday shopping in there, that we're going to have another $1 million plus collections month, which last year at this time was the first time that we had hit that $1 million mark, ever in the history of our collections. So we keep moving right up and increasing those collections. And again, like I always say, thank goodness we do, because we need it for the growth, and we need a couple of school buildings. So it's a good thing. And then if you want to look at the general fund, we're right in line, or actually we're a little bit under where we should be at this point in the year. We're at 42% of the year completed, and we have expended about 41% of our budgeted expenditures, which is kind of, it's kind of where we are, but I mean, where we end up at this time of the year, because we've got one less week in November, and of course, December's a short month also. But the schools are doing great. They're really, staying on top of their allocations, and so we're doing good for this time of the year. And if you want to look at the fund balance comparison, again, November, December, January are a little bit hard to compare just because of the timing of our property tax revenue collections. So sometimes it's, you know, a little above where we expect it to be, sometimes it's a little below. But we are definitely, I mean, we've definitely collected some good amount of property taxes here early in the collection process. So we're sitting good at this point, but again, January, December will be a good measurement point as far as where we are with fund balance. But we're doing good. Everybody, schools are doing great, and we're right where we should be. And we'll start looking next month. We'll start meeting with schools as far as budget requests and personnel earnings and requests. We're going to start meeting with them when we come back from the holidays, and we'll be doing that later January, early February, and coming to you in March with all that fun budget information. So seems like we end one and we're starting the next one.
All right, thank you, Anna, and to your entire team. I know it takes a lot. There's a lot going on. Ted's going to represent the operations team, and as Mr. Clarsey mentioned, we have had a lot of activity. So I'm going to let him give you some updates on property purchases and sales and others.
Thanks, Dr. Howard. I appreciate that. We have had a busy time, and even through today. What we'll share with you is some things that all need to weave together a little bit. And as Dr. Howard said earlier, if we can schedule an early hour, perhaps before the Monday meeting, it might be a good time to allow everyone to kind of think through what we're talking about and then come back and give us some time to process some information we have as well. I didn't provide, and Josh and I didn't, a monthly projects report. There were no changes on finances, so we just thought we'd come and talk about each item tonight. Josh is, is at a chorus tonight with his daughter Abby, so we'll miss him. Property purchase updates. We've closed on a piece of property known as the Sterling property on the north side of I-85 in the Pendergrass area. We closed on that, and we're proud owners now. And we are looking to close the other piece, the north operations site on Wayne Poultry Road at Old State this month. We're waiting on one final piece of information on the Phase 1 environmental just to make sure we're clear, and then we'll close on that. So it's exciting to know that we have property available as we're growing that we can use for new schools. The next item is an update on the turf field and track at East Jackson High School. The design is complete. The plans are being reviewed right now just to make sure we've got everything together and we have the right approvals. We've selected the same company that did our other field, so we'll make sure we have consistency with Jackson County's field and equipment. And this will be bought under a state contract, so we don't have to price this out. The project will be a turnkey project, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we get pricing together. But it's on track right now for a summer installation. We've talked a lot with the company about availability, and everything right now looks very good. So we are excited if we can move forward with that. The next item, C, is a temporary bus storage at Highway 332. We have buses. If you were by our office this morning, it's a little bit unusual because we're inspecting. And Mr. Farmer and his team have been running yellow buses through there. Well, you just can't imagine. But we are packed on that site every day. We are leaving buses at West Elementary and North and West Middle, and we're crowded, and we're trying to get portables in as well. So we have a temporary solution at the Highway 332 site that will just, it won't be gravel, it'll be a little better surface than that, still a porous surface. Fencing, some cameras, lighting, and the chance for all of our drivers to have a central location on the west side to store their buses. So they'll be able to come to that location without having to come all the way over here or to a school, leave their cars, drive their buses, and return. But that'll help us a lot at the schools. We're, for instance, at West Elementary, trying to improve our traffic is very difficult just with a dozen buses that are there and left. So this will be a big help. we trust everybody and won't have a big cost. And again, this is temporary, but it'll be a number of years for sure.
Ted?
Yes,
Is the temporary yard going to be fenced?
yes,
Okay.
it will be.
So it'll be secured. I guess there'll be folks that'll leave buses there overnight, is that?
Yes, sir, that's the plan, that's where they'll park their buses, over the weekend, overnight, and then they'll also have a safe place when they come in to pick up their buses early in the morning, to leave their vehicles there so they can get on the bus and go run to the house.
So for our female drivers, it'll be well lit?
Did you say?
Well lit, yes, sir.
Oh, yes,
There'll be
definitely.
lights there also. Yes, sir.
And we've met with DOT, and it's fine to use the interest we have now, so.
That's the key, Mr. Clarence, is making it a safe place for us to do those transfers. For example, we have a lot of trips that go out late at night and come back late at night or even early in the morning when they leave. So it's important that we had those combination of safety items in place, and we feel like we have addressed that, and those will be in place.
I would add too, earlier in the year, we discussed the traffic issues at West Middle, especially during the fall. That's still going on. So those 8 or 10 buses that are parked at West Middle won't be there anymore, as well as those parked at Gum Springs. So they can park, that'll help a lot with the traffic at West Middle. That was a big piece.
It will, and as we grow with our classrooms that we need to add this year, that's another factor as well. The next item is a bit of an update of information on the growth in facilities on the west side particularly. I don't know if do the board members have a copy of that? They do. Some of that information. I won't go through it all, but I will point out a few things. We wanted to take a few minutes just to go back, and Mr. Clarence, you referred to the board meetings this year. The sessions, the long all-day sessions, we met in March, we met again in August, and again in September, and appreciate that very much. So I highlighted on here where we went during that process, particularly what consensus items were agreed to on September 24th, following lots of those discussions. Items like purchasing the Sterling site that we talked about earlier, evaluating construction bid on the new middle school, and other items that were very important as we go forward. We took those items to the subcommittee, if you will, of the Parent Advisory Committee, the one for enrollment and growth, and talked to a number of parents and some board members about the growth and the needs and how a parent's perspective is, what they see as we go forward, and had some ideas from them and talked about some grade level reconfiguration and classroom complexes that we shared with you. We then, one of the outcomes of that meeting was that we needed to go back and talk to our West Side principals and talk to them about what we called at the time status quo. Can we make it through another year without too many changes? Dr. Howard and Josh Patton and I met with each principal. We walked every building, every campus, and looked at the reality of where our kids are, what learning spaces they're in. And at each one of those schools, it's really tight, some more than others. But we also went through with the principals how many homerooms they had now in each grade level and how many they're going to need next year based on what they're seeing this year, what we had projected, and what they project. And we're real close to the numbers. What we came up with was an expansion of our portables at each campus. So if you have that before you, you can look down and you'll see that at West Elementary, we need an additional 4. At North, probably 4 to 6 portables. I just saw Gum Springs has a Q in it now. Josh told me I misspelled something, and I said, well, Ms. Wheeler would certainly find that probably for me. But there it is. I just discovered it. So Gum Springs is in need of 4 to 6, and West Middle, as you know, they have 14 now, and we need probably 6 to 8 there. So we're planning on that now, and we're trying to hold it as much as we can to a minimum, but we need to do what their needs are showing. The highest priority project we have is, of course, the new middle school. That pricing came in this afternoon. We were on the phone just 30, 40 minutes ago with Josh as he was riding back. We made up a little ground, but we didn't make up a whole lot. we're still pretty high, and I don't really want to put the number out there yet because Carol Daniel hasn't vetted it. We haven't really thoroughly vetted. That starts now, and that'll give us some time tomorrow and through the weekend to be ready to share with you a little bit more on Monday. But it remains what we would love to do. We talked last time that in the event that pricing is too far out of our reach from a funding capability, that we would meet the need at the Empower campus is probably the best place, with either a classroom complex of portables or a permanent classroom building. And based on how we move forward with all of the funding and the projects, we can do either one. We can create a permanent classroom building at that campus that allows the use of all of the other existing facilities, from the gymnasium to the band room to the chorus room to football fields, practice fields. So, and that's those common areas like that for connections classes in middle school that's the only campus that we really have that opportunity. The high school campus has them as well, but we need to hold that site for the new middle school. So I say all that just to say it's pretty complex, and we hope to bring you some recommendations and talk with you about what you'd really like to do, either tonight, if you have questions, or on Monday. It may be that you want to kind of look through this and think about some of this before we come back together. I believe one thing that will be critically important is if we move towards a permanent building, we need to go at light speed. And we have a concept design at this point, and so we will likely bring you, if that is the direction we go, on Monday we'll bring you a recommendation to establish a maximum on design fees. And we would move, again, very fast on that because that needs to open in August of 2023. And we need to be under construction with early release packages, probably in site work, concrete, structural steel, and roofing in the next couple months so we can get that building started. And with the supply chain issues that we have, we need to move on those pretty quickly. So we have an initial estimate in, and it was very close to our projection, and we feel pretty good about that. So I hope that's not too fast. I hope it explains. I know a lot of this is reiterating what we've already shared before, but we're trying to bring the new facts as we know them to you. So if you have any questions now, or if this would be something that we might want to ponder a little bit over the next couple of days, we'll come back on Monday and talk about.
Be interested in timeline. So 27 permanent classrooms we need by 2023. Are the mobile classrooms, we can talk about this more, but I do have some.
To answer your question, the middle school is at about 1,400. I didn't look at the actual
1360, but
enrollment
it'll
to
be
see, but
14.
it's in that range. And with 14 portables now, we are stressing that core of administration, media center, cafeteria, particularly gymnasium, band. They're stressed to the max. So we need a process to be ready. We can make it through one more year, but we need a process to be ready with new classrooms, particularly for middle school, which will allow us also to consider the 8th grade in that, how we look at all of that, because the high school is growing as well. In fact, it's growing very fast. They're at probably 1650, 1670 right now. So that's a big concern with a full grade level, that where they end up. And we also need a really effective means of helping the elementary schools. So we know that classrooms are needed.
So maximum 24 mobile that we're going to need additional.
That's what we think.
Is there space for that?
There is. We've looked at every building, and it does all tie together. For instance, at Gum Springs, we do park buses there, and we need some of that space that will allow us to put in portables, but still allow traffic to come through. Mr. Farmer will need to be part of this too. That may be news to you, but, and then the same thing at West Middle. There's just not a lot of room. So that's what we're trying to pull together. I think that the hope would be that if we use a new classroom building or complex that's constructed for 23, that we'd be able to eliminate some portables. My experience in a growing community is that's very hard to do. So we all want to do it, but at the growth level we have, I don't think one building is going to satisfy where we're headed, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's a facility that would be used from here on.
Ms. Wheeler and I met with a parent group, as you guys and girls know. So their input was very important. So we do need to, Ted and Dr. Howard are right. We need to have some discussions about this and all be on the same page as to how we move forward in the short term to get us to the next opportunity for potential funding to have some schools to relieve some of this space constraints that we have.
We found that those times that you've invested in the process, those extra times have been extremely helpful to us. And the other thing I didn't mention is I think this year will be a year of very intense planning by everyone here towards, I mean, when you talk about schedule is a big part of all of this as well. We talked, Mr. Easler, about making sure that as we grow, that his programs at Empower remain intact and not involved in a way it shouldn't. So lots to talk about.
That's one point that I know we've made before. We've got to do something. We just want to make sure that we do not destroy or mess up anything that we've already gotten started with Empower. Because that's such a great opportunity for our kids. I just want us to make sure we don't compromise any of that.
We agree with you 100% on that. Well, if there's no more questions on that, I'll just mention one last item, and that's that we have a request for a sanitary sewer easement from a property owner on Highway 11 for the Jackson County High School site. We are still working through that. This is on the corner across the street from us, and they've just made a proposal to us that they could tie into the Jefferson system that's on our site. We just want to make sure that what we bring to you would be something that wouldn't in any way have unintended consequences for us, either now or in the future. So we just kind of wanted to give you that as something that's coming your way soon.
Knowing no more than what I have just heard, so forgive me, give me a little latitude. What are they really looking to do? Tie into the Jefferson system?
Yes.
And that's essentially it, and where is that on our property over there?
If you were to stand in front of Empower and look at the A wing, the former entry to the school, this would be directly across the street, and they would like to come up in some part of our frontage and tie into us to a line that runs right across the front through our fenced detention area. It goes laterally down towards the tennis courts, and it's would be a force main. Actually, it goes all the way down to pumps further down Highway 11.
And then into the plant.
Right. So we just want to make sure that where they come, it wouldn't hinder us in any way.
Okay.
Their proposal was kind of along our drive, but we are suggesting that we move it a little further down so that if we need to modify our drive, that we don't have an easement there. So
Right.
it's pretty simple, but we need to work on.
So we'll bring you that probably in January.
Okay.
We don't. The city of Jefferson does, the utility,
Down.
on their
Further
line.
down.
Further down, all the way down, closer to being across from the Water Sewer Authority, Jackson County's.
Yeah, there's the City of Jefferson and Jackson County Water and Sewage Authority have an agreement where some sewage from Jefferson customers comes into the county plant, and everything drains down at Highway 11 and then pumps into the headworks of the plant down there. So they would pump across, if I'm understanding what Mr. Gilbert's saying, they would pump across Highway 11 and then get into the gravity line and work its way down.
And Mr. Gilbert, I'll just mention the Gordon Street Amendment Sales Agreement. That we are still in a sales agreement with Gordon, with our Board of Commissioners. They have asked for an amendment for us to postpone the closing until February 15th. Would like to agree to that. We receive the earnest money tomorrow. We know with this growth, this is important. We've got to be accelerated in our engagement with the county because y'all all know our roads are really being impacted. So the traffic, if we're fortunate enough to be able to build the middle school over there, the traffic at 332, and that's work that is still ongoing. So, yes, sir. Oh, I thought you were going to raise your hand. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, to
Please
cut you
do.
off a bit. So what, and then the time frame that we still have here after,
We guaranteed to be out by the end of March, and we are making progress with that. And I do want to send a very special thank you to East Jackson High School, Ms. Palmer, and their leadership. We have already transitioned several spaces that were not being used as much. And Josh and his team are going to be in the process of doing we're not doing renovations, we're just doing modest, making it available for technology. The first group that we will move probably right after the holidays will be technology and assessment, because we want to get them established before the spring assessment season starts. But we feel confident that we'll be able to get everybody moved over to East Jackson High and have this building empty by the end of March. So, it's good.
So we'll vote on that Monday night.
Yes, sir,
That's
and it's
that's a vote
attached
item.
for your review. And other than that, I think that covers all of our items, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Clarsey, and then we'll just wait to hear from the board on whether or not you're available Monday for some further conversation about this proposal.
Okay. I'm sure we can circulate some times. If we can meet here in advance of the meeting, that would be good. That'll work for us. So we do have a need, as I mentioned at the beginning, we do have a need for an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel. So if I have a motion to go into executive session. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous, so we will convene to executive session. We're back from our executive session. If I have a motion to come out of executive session? I have a motion. How about a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? That's unanimous. We're back from our executive session, and we're taking no action. It was a good time. So we stand adjourned.